So second across, Latin word for peace. Pax, how's it spelled? P-A-X, very good. Third one across, third wife of Augustus, something Drusilla. Livia Drusilla, that is L-I-V-I-A. 5, the earth goddess of the Roman pantheon. Tellus, T-E-L-L-U-S. What was important about Tellus the other day?
She was on the armor that Augustus was wearing.
Yep. Where was Tellus? Can you remember? So it was on, be specific about the armor. What type of armor was it? Started with a C.
Cursus.
Not cursus, that's cursus on, remember thinking of? Cuirass.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, which is the
close.
breastplate. If you say breastplate, I'll take that answer as well.
In the
okay,
exam?
but it's specifically called a cuirass, yeah. Okay. Now Tellus is at the bottom. What's Tellus doing? It's holding something. And then
Grapes.
Grapes, okay, which is called something else. It's a big word starting with C. A cornucopia. Okay, that's the word that we'll learn the other day.
So how do you spell that?
Ooh. You know, I do know, but I'm not going to trial it. Cornucopia. That's not even how you spell it, Sean. Far out.
Mateo.
There we go, to you. Yeah. Cornucopia. Okay? Which basically means it's a symbol of fertility. Okay? So when you're holding like the bowl of grapes, sort of the stem of grapes and then other foods, it's called a cornucopia. And it means fertility and also wealth. Okay? And that's what Tellus does at the bottom of the chest plate. Okay? Alright. Number 7, the ruling social class of Rome during the Republican period is? Patricians. Very good. Okay? This one I think we should all get. Capital city of the Roman Empire / Republic. Oh, thank God. Yes, Rome. Okay? Going down now, Roman god of the sun. Sol, S-O-L.
I got that
2, empire responsible for the death of Crassus and taking of Roman standards returned by Augustus. Parthian Empire, very good. That is P-A-R-T-H-I-A-N. Number 4 down, Roman hill in which the temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus was. The Capitoline Hill, very good. C-A-P-I-T-O-L-I-N-E. Number 6 down, battle in which Mark Antony and Cleopatra are defeated. Actium, A-C-T-I-U-M. And famous statue of Augustus found at Prima Porta. Very, very good.
So can you spell 6 down again?
6 down, A-C-T-I-U-M.
Okay, thanks sir.
It's alright. Alright, sunshines.
Yes.
Today we are beginning and I'm going to get hammered by Mr. Shortest for this one because my Latin pronunciation has gone down the tubes. The Gestae, okay, or Gestae. Who's ever heard of the Gestae before?
No.
Fantastic, then we're starting from a completely clean slate. Alright, so let's find where, unos, dos. So girls, we're going to watch a video. You have questions while watching the video. Read through the questions before we start the video. Alright. They should go chronologically, but who knows? Maybe Mr. Thrift was very tired when he was writing these, and what's chronological at 2 a.m. can be very different from what
So
is.
are we, you know how we started that practice pill last lesson?
Oh!
Are we?
Yes, yes, we will.
Okay.
Yeah, my apologies, girls. I thought that was year 8 I was doing a practice bill with, but it was you guys. Tell me when I've got 10 minutes left in the lesson, please.
Okay.
And we'll go through that one. We'll finish that practice peel that we were doing last lesson. Okay? Alright. So, Ray Gestae or Ray Gestae, girls, is very important for understanding who Augustus was and what he did. Okay? It is probably one of the largest written works that we have of an ancient ruler. Okay? From the Ray Gestae, you can pretty much get the entire biography of Augustus. Okay? However, it is made by Augustus himself or by his family members. Okay? Now, thinking about usefulness and reliability, what does that sort of mean for us?
Bias.
Could be heavily biased. Okay? Augustus is not going to, for example, list every single defeat that he had. Okay? So, let's go through this. Okay? And we will start.
The Deeds of the Divine Augustus is a primary source document about the life of Caesar Augustus, the first emperor of Rome. With minor exceptions near the end, it is a first-person autobiographical account in which Augustus relates what he saw as the crowning achievements of his rule in the empire. As a primary document, Deeds of the Divine Augustus is of the genre called propaganda. Propaganda is information communicated with the purpose of advancing a particular political viewpoint. At their most innocent, propaganda communications should be treated as biased reports. At their worst, they can be outright misleading. The original Deeds of the Divine Augustus contains 35 paragraphs about the accomplishments of Caesar Augustus.
So what genre is it?
Propaganda.
Propaganda, okay? And propaganda is a really nice word to know, okay? Because it is a much better way of saying government bias, okay? If you just keep on saying bias, 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 it gets a bit repetitious. But if you're saying something is propaganda, you're actually taking a particular point. Because propaganda is a government message, basically. And they're trying to convince you of something. What do you think this is trying to convince us of?
The greatness of Augustus.
The greatness of Augustus, okay? Now they just said 35 lines, I think it was, is devoted to to Julius Caesar. Why do you think the first 35 lines are devoted to him?
Oh, because Augustus wants to show that he's a divine person. Because
He's a
related to
divine
us.
person, okay? Remember, Caesar is declared divine, okay? Augustus wants to strengthen his link with Caesar. So of course at the beginning of Augustus's biography, it's not going to start with Augustus was born, blah, 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 this date at blah, blah, blah. It's going to start with, here's some things about Julius Caesar, because Augustus is basically trying to make the connection between him and Caesar all the much more stronger. Okay, because through Caesar, Augustus gets his start with an L, big word. Lineage is pretty close.
Legacy.
Legacy, legitimacy. Legitimacy. He looks legit because he is the son of Caesar. Okay?
We have reproduced a number of them here, interspersed with appropriate commentary. The original document was included as part of Augustus's will, with instructions that it be engraved on the front of his tomb. As with much propaganda, the Deeds of the Divine Augustus was reproduced often. Many copies were made both in Latin and Greek. We will consider just a few of the document's paragraphs here. The document begins with a preamble. A copy below of the Deeds of the Divine Augustus, by which he subjected the whole wide earth to the rule of the Roman people, and the money which he spent for the state and Roman people, inscribed on 2 bronze pillars, which are set up in Rome. 2 years after the assassination of Julius Caesar in 42 BC, the Roman Senate decreed that the former leader be referred to as a Roman god. As the adopted son of Julius Caesar, Augustus often referred to himself as the Son of God. Now, this term has no relation to the Christian concept of Jesus Christ, but it was by this tradition that he refers to himself here as Divine Augustus. In production of this piece of propaganda,
Alright, first of all, number 2. Why do you think so many copies of Re Gestae has been made?
Different translations.
Different translations, very good. Can you remember the two languages that were the big ones they used?
Latin and Greek.
Latin and Greek, very good, Zeta. Okay, so Latin and Greek, because that's what the ancient world, that's the language of basically education. Okay, so Latin and Greek, but why do you think they bothered?
So more people could access it and read it.
Exactly right, okay, so more people can access it and read it, and remember, it's propaganda. So the government is very interested in people reading it because they're basically trying to paint this image of the amazing Augustus. Okay? So it's very useful in this regard. Okay? And they're basically sending this text to the outer edges of Roman Empire. Everyone that can read should read this, basically. Okay? Why is Augustus declared divine? Yep.
Because he's the son of
Starts with a C.
Caesar.
Yeah. Okay. Son of Caesar. Okay. Yes.
Was Caesar declared God after his death?
Yes.
Or why? Like after he died?
Why after he died? Because if he declared himself God while still alive, they would have killed him a lot quicker. Okay? Because one of the reasons that they think Caesar was killed is because he was the very first person in Rome to be living and put his own face on a coin. Okay? Previously, only the gods would do that. Okay? So when Caesar put his face on the coin, the rest of the Romans went, Caesar thinks himself a god. And that was one of the reasons that they killed him. Because they thought he was being, the word is blasphemous. Okay? So that's the reason why he didn't do it. Augustus didn't really have any qualms about it because Caesar set the precedent.
But what changed to make them see him like as a god?
Basically, Antony came into power and so did Octavian with him. And they basically pressured the high priesthood and the Senate to make him a god so they would be legitimized. Okay, so there was a bit of pressure put onto other people to say he's a god. And we also have to remember, Caesar was intensely popular amongst the lower orders. So they would almost be looking to him as a god already. Okay? Make sense? Tip top. Alright.
Augustus has immediately set out to establish his purpose. He sees himself as a beneficent leader. Though he ruled as an absolute monarch, he begins by noting how much money he has spent on behalf of the Roman people. The name of Caesar Augustus before he became emperor was Octavian. He acquired many other names, including Caesar and Augustus, over the course of his life.
This one is important, okay, because this actually includes a lot of the translations that we have done already, okay? Imperator. Emperor is the modern English translation. We can say Great Victor or something like that, okay? It's normally a military title. Caesar. Caesar itself actually becomes a title later on, but it is a name here, okay? Divi Filius.
Son of God.
Son of God. Okay, and that was important because you see it on a lot of coins. Please remember Divi Filius. Okay? Augustus.
So is that one of his names?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Doesn't that become a title later on as well?
Augustus also becomes a title later on because, of course, Augustus isn't his real name. He gets given this new name and new title, meaning illustrious one. Okay?
To be accurate, we will refer to him in the accounts of his earlier life by his name at that time, Octavian. In my 19th year, on my own initiative and at my own expense, I raised an army with which I set free the state, which was oppressed by the domination of a faction. For that reason, the Senate enrolled me in its order by laudatory resolutions when Gaius Pansa and Aulus Hirtius were consuls, assigning me the place of a consul in the giving of opinions, and gave me the imperium. With me as propraetor, it ordered me, together with the consuls, to take care lest any detriment befall the state. But the people made me a consul in the same year, when the consuls each perished in battle, and they made me a triumvir for the settling of the state. Octavian was 19 years old when Julius Caesar was assassinated. He here speaks of his great magnanimity in taking initiative with his own money to liberate Rome. What he doesn't tell us is that the money he spent here was almost exclusively from the vast riches he inherited from Julius Caesar. Prior to Caesar's death and the reading of his will, Octavian had no idea he was to be adopted and given this vast estate. He mentions here the positions he was afforded in Rome. Imperium refers to his power to command the army, and propraetor was a position just below, but similar to the role of consul. Most important here is his reference to the triumvir. Octavian was one of 3 members established as the second triumvirate in Rome. You will remember, the first triumvirate was an unofficial league composed of
So, let's have a look at those, okay? Because we got a couple there. What does imperium mean?
How about to command the army?
Yeah, ability to command the army, okay? We also say in English sometimes, what's sometimes the translation I use?
Absolute power.
No, that's a different type of imperium.
Authority.
Sometimes we use the word authority, okay? Authority definitely does have its own translation in Latin, and it's a separate term. It's called auctoritas, but we sometimes just call imperium a version of authority, okay? What you're actually thinking about, which is something we'll go on, is something called maius imperium, which is absolute authority, okay? Which is something Augustus has, okay? So, number 5. How does Augustus twist the events of how he was made consul after the deaths of Hirtius and Pansa? What does he omit, and by what right does he claim it? This one actually involves stuff that's in here and stuff that's out there that we've done before. So you have to remember back for this one, okay? When they said, for example, the finances, what did they say about the finances?
He says it's his own expense, but really it's Caesar's inheritance.
So he really lets go of the fact that it was Caesar that gave him all the money, that allowed him to do this.
So he's basically trying to show that he was wealthy
Yeah.
no matter what.
There's also something that he does where he doesn't mention that he didn't know that he was going to be adopted by Caesar. So the detail that he sort of omits there is that he didn't know. What he's trying to present is that he's going, Caesar and I were always so close, I always knew I was going to be adopted. Okay? And he omits, doesn't tell, that's what omits means, doesn't tell that he only found out after Caesar died. Okay? What does he leave out about how he was made consul after the deaths of Hirtius and Pansa? How did Hirtius and Pansa die? Pansa, rather said. Does anybody remember?
Was it in the battle thing that you had the triumvirate and then fought the 2?
Ooh, no. You're close. It was in a battle. It was the Battle of Mutina, I think it is, or Mutina. Okay, in which Augustus was fighting Mark Antony. Okay. It wasn't the Battle of Actium. Okay, but this is the first time that Mark Antony gets defeated. And Hirtius and Pansa die mysteriously in that battle, but Augustus is left alive. Okay? Now, what happens after that battle? What does Augustus do? Does anybody remember? He goes somewhere. He goes back to...
Rome.
With what?
His army?
With his army, exactly right. He marches back to Rome with his army and basically threatens the Senate into making him consul because the Senate has no army left. Okay, that was Pansa and Hirtius. Now they're gone, the Senate has no army. So Augustus threatens the Senate, saying basically, if you don't give me the title of consulship, some bad things are going to happen. What does the Ray Gestae say that he did? Why was he made consul? It's in the final sentence.
He brought peace.
Yeah. But the people made me consul. He's saying, it was a fair election and the people were just crying out for me to become consul. He completely omits the fact that he brought an army back with him and basically browbeat the Senate into making him consul. Okay? This is what we mean by omissions. He doesn't lie, he just leaves stuff out. Okay? I think we might have one more answer there as well. And what is the triumvirate?
Military?
No.
No.
A member of the triumvirate.
A member of the triumvirate, or one of 3 rulers of Rome.
So what's a triumvirate?
A triumvirate is when 3 people come together to rule something.
Alright.
Okay? So just think trio, triumvirate. Okay, we've got the word for 3 in there. I also really like here, they go, and they made me a triumvirate for the settling of the state. At no point in this does he mention who he was fighting, because he was fighting against Mark Antony, okay? And then at no point here does he mention who was the other triumvirates with him. Who were the other triumvirates with him?
Mark Antony and
Lepidus.
Yeah.
Lepidus, okay? The reason, why do you think he doesn't mention them there?
because he doesn't want them to be seen as powerful like him.
Exactly right, doesn't want him to see powerful as him. But he's also just said that he was fighting one of them up here.
Oh.
It's gonna look sort of sneaky if he's fighting him in sentence 1 and then as a partner with him in sentence 4. Okay? Like I said, doesn't lie, but does leave out stuff. Okay?
Interesting. So he's a compulsive liar.
Yeah. Compulsive omissioner.
You will remember, the first triumvirate was an unofficial league composed of Julius Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus. A league which those 3 men created of their own design that eventually fell apart. The second triumvirate was officially enacted by the Roman Senate. What Octavian does not mention here, or in the paragraphs to follow, was the fact that his fellow triumvirs were his eventual enemies, Mark Antony and Marcus Lepidus. He also omitted that the Senate declared them as a second triumvirate when the 3 marched on Rome with their armies in tow. I drove the men who slaughtered my father into exile with a legal order, punishing their crime, and afterwards, when they waged war on the state, I conquered them in 2 battles. Notice how the other members of the triumvirate are passed over in this paragraph. Octavian would have us to believe that he avenged the death of Julius Caesar single-handedly. In the initial battle of Philippi, it was actually Mark Antony who made a stronger show against the assassins. In the end, both Cassius and Brutus, the leaders of the assassins' men, committed suicide. I often waged war, civil and foreign, on the earth and...
So how does Augustus treat the triumvirate in the Ray Gestae? Or Ray Gestae? Yeah.
He doesn't mention that they later become his enemies.
That's right. He doesn't really mention them at all by name. Okay? And what does he also do with their actions?
He makes them negative, so his actions are more positive.
Doesn't really make them negative. He does something else.
Undermined.
He sort of just pretends that they don't exist at all and then takes credit for the stuff that they do. So, for example, they were saying, like, he chased down the enemies of Caesar, the ones who murdered Caesar. Can anyone remember who murdered him?
Brutus.
And
23 other people.
23 other people. There's one in particular, the one that we always talk about. Starts with a C.
Crassus.
Not Crassus.
Cassius.
Cassius.
He's my distant
Consul's the
relative.
position, darling. Okay.
Consular Cassius.
Brutus and Cassius.
That's how I
Okay. Now, Mark Antony, as they were saying then, was the one that made the strongest show against Brutus and Cassius. He brought more troops. He brought more, made a bigger effort than Augustus did. However, he's left out. And it's sort of left to the idea of, Augustus defeated Brutus and Cassius all by himself and avenged his father, Caesar.
Mhm.
Never mind the fact that Antony was there along the way helping him in a much bigger way.
Mhm.
Okay? Once again, not a lie, an omission there.
Interesting. Sounds like politicians.
See, in the whole wide world, and as victor, I spared all the citizens who sought pardon. As for foreign nations, those which I was able to safely forgive, I preferred to preserve than to destroy. About 500,000 Roman citizens were sworn to me. I led something more than 300,000 of them into colonies, and I returned them to their cities after their stipend had been earned, and I assigned all of them fields or gave them money for their military service. I captured 600 ships, in addition to those smaller than trireme.
What sort of two things is Augustus trying to say here?
I give to the people. I help the people.
Yeah.
That's why they stand by me.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so one of the things that he's definitely talking about is his generosity. Okay. What else? What's the first part?
His victory.
Is
Good military.
Yo!
He can fight. Woo!
Good military commander. Now, why is that point controversial?
Oh.
Because
Go, on. Go,
Go for it.
Go, go, go.
You go, man.
then he goes to say that he protects all these people.
Not because of that. I like where you're going.
Is it so no one comes at him?
No.
Right.
It's because, as some of you might remember from a previous video, he's not the one that commands the armies. His general Agrippa does. And everyone keeps on saying Agrippa's a really good general, Agrippa's a really good general. And Augustus basically realizes and goes, everyone thinks I'm a really crap general, I'm only where I am now because of Agrippa.
Yeah.
He doesn't mention Agrippa there. He doesn't mention, I often waged war and my general Agrippa smashed all these people for me. No, he's saying I was the general. I was the amazing one.
Liar. See, that's a lie now. He's not
Okay.
leaving stuff out here.
Is it though? He did wage war. Officially he did wage war. But he hasn't said there that he commanded the troops. But it's very much what you're thinking.
Ah.
Okay? Now, it was you, said he also wants to present peace. Okay? Absolutely. And what sort of peace are we talking about here? Pax Romana. Okay? Roman peace. So he's sort of building up to that now. He's saying, yes, I did wage war, both civil and foreign. But after I did that, here's what I did. I established peace. I let the soldiers go to their colonies. And I gave back to the people. Okay? He's building up his image. Okay?
In this one paragraph, Octavian has skipped over about 15 years worth of history. His reference to battles here appears to relate to the Battle of Actium, where he defeated his one-time colleague, Mark Antony, by which he secured the role of the empire for himself. By this time, Marcus Lepidus, who never gained influence in the Second Triumvirate, had already been exiled. When the dictatorship was offered to me, both in my presence and my absence, by the people and Senate, when Marcus Marcellus and Lucius Aruntius were consuls, I did not accept it. I did not invade the curatorship of grain in the height of the food shortage, which I so arranged that within a few days I freed the entire city from the present fear and danger by my own expense and administration. When the annual and perpetual consulate was then again offered to me, I did not accept it.
We won't answer number 8 yet, but keep in mind, refuses dictatorship, but Rome's in a crisis. I'll look after it. Okay? Notice his wordings. I did not evade the curatorship, meaning basically someone that deals with the problem of grain, because there was a grain shortage. Okay? Everyone was starving. I did not evade. Basically, when responsibility knocked, I answered. Okay? He's basically setting himself as a responsible leader who has to do what he does for the people. I must take over for the people. Okay? And then he mentions, by my own expense and administration. Basically, you're only alive because I gave up my money and I led you. And then they offered him the consulship again, and he's like, no, I can't. Okay, I just can't. No, I just
A dictator in Rome was not originally in line with how we use the term today. In the days of the Republic, a dictator was a man appointed by the duly elected consuls who was given special powers during the crisis for a limited period of time. Julius Caesar had been proclaimed dictator for life, and Octavian likely refused the title for fear of being associated with the concentration of power. Not that he opposed power concentrated in himself, he just wanted to avoid the appearance. The 3rd century Roman historian Cassius Dio wrote of Octavian. As for the dictatorship, however, he did not accept the office, but went so far as to rend his garments when he found himself unable to restrain the people in any other way, either by argument or enemy. For, since he was superior to dictators in the power and honors he already possessed, he properly guarded against the jealousy and hatred which the title would.
Augustus, it's important to remember, is not an idiot.
Yeah.
Okay?
Clearly.
Why doesn't he want the title of dictator?
Because people hate dictators.
Because it's not that they hate dictators, but he's very well aware of what happened to the last one. Okay? So he's looking at that dictatorship post and going, people already associate with Caesar. Caesar was dictator when he died. It's one of the main reasons they killed him. I don't want to give people more reasons to associate me with the bad stuff Caesar did, and also associate me with the idea that they can kill Caesar. Okay? So he's not accepting it because he knows that if he does, it looks bad. It doesn't matter though, because he's already got more powers than the dictator ever had. He's got way more power than Caesar ever had. Okay? So he's basically just going, I don't need the title of dictator because I'm already more powerful than the dictator as well. Why would I want that title that would only burden me and threaten to get me killed? It also makes him look very humble, would be the word. No. I believe in the Republic. I love the Republic. I would never ever get rid of our elected leaders. I won't become dictator even though I'm already more powerful than you. I'll let the Senate continue. Okay? And this is very much his power and image, girls. Because he's got all the power, now he's just working on building the image to make it look like he doesn't have all the power. Okay? It's a dictatorship by any other word.
Rouse. According to Cassius Dio, Octavian saw himself as already superior to the role of dictator and made great protests against wanting to adopt such a title. In the next few omitted paragraphs, Augustus wrote of the honors afforded him by the Senate, many of which he refused in humility. When my sons Gaius and Lucius Caesar, whom fortune stole from me as youths, were 14, The Senate and Roman people made them consuls designate on behalf of my honor, so that they would enter that magistracy after 5 years. And the Senate decreed that on that day when they were led into the forum, they would be included in public councils. Moreover, the Roman knights together named each of them first of the youth, and gave them shields and spears. This paragraph relates to one of the few sad elements in Octavian's life captured here. Though he was married 3 times, his only natural offspring was a daughter, Julia. In 17 BC, the age of 46, he adopted his son-in-law Agrippa and his 2 grandsons, Gaius and Lucius, who were then 3 and less than 1 year old. All 3 of these adopted sons died. Agrippa in 12 BC, Lucius in AD 2, and Gaius in AD 4.
I don't know what it. Yes?
So if he adopted Agrippa, who was his son-in-law, doesn't that make his daughter and him siblings?
Yeah, technically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, look,
Yeah.
Roman law is confusing in this regard, okay? But when he adopts his general Agrippa, keep in mind Agrippa is not much younger than Octavian, so he's basically saying, you're my son,
He's like a year.
and it's only a couple of years younger than him, but whatever, okay? He does that so he can get Agrippa's children and make them his what? Starts with a H.
Here. Yeah.
His heirs, okay? Because what does it really look like he's trying to build? Starts with an M.
Monarchy.
A monarchy, okay? But he doesn't want to make it look like a monarchy. Now, he would probably give his own children this stuff if he could, but he can't have that. He's only got a daughter, okay? So he has to find sons, well, that's Agrippa, and he has to make them look like they're worthy, okay? So what does he do? Well, he includes all of this stuff going, oh, they would have been super worthy if they didn't die, okay? They could have been princeps after me. And it seems to be this common problem for Julio-Claudians. I don't know why, but they have trouble having children.
Yeah.
So they always have to adopt from outside the family, almost always. Does anybody know who comes straight after Augustus? Starts with a T. Tiberius, very good. Who is another adopted person who was adopted by Augustus. Okay?
Why can a powerful person adopt me? Get adopted by
This paragraph relates the honors paid to these lost heirs.
Yeah.
This ends the first section of Deeds of the Divine Augustus. The next several paragraphs enumerate many of the donations Augustus made in the form of money, land, and food to the people of Rome and to the soldiers. 3 times I gave shows of gladiators under my name, and 5 times under the name of my sons and grandsons. In these shows, about 10,000 men fought. Twice I furnished under my name spectacles of athletes gathered from everywhere, and 3 times under my grandson's name. I celebrated games under my name 4 times, and furthermore, in the place of other magistrates, 23 times. As master of the college, I celebrated the secular games for the College of the 15 with my colleague Marcus Agrippa. 26 times under my name, or that of my sons and grandsons, I gave the people hunts of African beasts in the circus, in the open, or in the amphitheater. In them, about 3,500 beasts were killed.
Alright, number 9. What sort of public works and celebrations does Augustus celebrate in his Gestae? Gladiator shows in particular, because the Roman people love gladiator shows. Probably even more than they love the idea of clean water. Because gladiator shows are something you don't get to see every day. Clean water, once you get it, you sort of do forget who made it.
Yeah.
Okay? And he gives quite spectacular ones, and this shows about 10,000 men fought. Okay? Now I want you to put that in perspective. The world's population at this point was not even 1 billion. Okay? You're looking at hundreds of millions. So 10,000 people is quite a lot to die in these games. Okay? So he has these games. Does he always furnish them under his name?
No.
Who else's?
His grandson
Yep, so his grandsons and his magistrates. Okay, why do you think he would have done it through his magistrates?
So they would stay on his side, and he also looks humble.
He looks humble because he doesn't want his name everywhere because that stinks too much of dictatorship. But he also keeps them on side because those people know that if they get their names on the games, then they stay in office and they get popular as well and everything like that. So he pays other people to have their names on it, even though he's paying for the whole thing. And of course he's going to pay for his grandsons because he wants the people to know their names. Because when they take over after him, it's not going to be a massive surprise. They're going to be like, oh, Gaius, that guy, he threw the sickest games the other year. We're okay with that. Okay?
In addition to his donations of money, land, and food, Augustus also provided entertainment for the people at his own expense. Here, mention is made of gladiatorial combat in which men would fight to the death with other men or animals. Amid the brutality of reporting about gladiators, we also see the emperor's softer side, as he once again introduces the memory of his deceased son-in-law and 2 grandsons, whose names were used in offering up these public spectacles. I gave the people a spectacle of a naval battle in the place across the Tiber where the grove of the Caesars is now, with the ground excavated in length 1,800 feet, in width 1,200, in which 30 beaked ships, biremes or triremes, but many smaller, fought among themselves. In these ships, about 3,000 men fought in addition to the rowers.
This one made Augustus insanely popular. Okay? He digs up a section of land in Rome, fills it up with water, and keep in mind, this is for the age of pumps here, girls. Okay? He fills it up either by diverting the normal river of the Tiber or by filling it up by hand, yeah. And then builds ships within his newly constructed lake and has those ships fight each other in a gladiatorial game just so that people can experience what a naval battle's like. Do you think he had a particular naval battle he really wanted to show? The Battle of Actium, you better bet it. Okay? That would have been a really nice way for him to show it. Okay, but this is sort of, the people have never seen this before. A naval battle in the city. They would have been freaking losing their minds. Okay, this is like when 3D was first introduced to the cinemas. Okay, everyone's like, actually, I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember when 3D was first introduced.
I was there.
You were there? You would have been very young. Yeah, okay. Very good.
So what year was it?
I remember the first movie I saw in 3D was Mars Needs Mothers.
What year was that?
Would have been when I was in high school.
So 2000?
Late 2000s, maybe.
Yeah, 2009.
Yeah, 2009-ish. I remember when Avatar first came out, everyone was like, whoa.
Everyone was obsessed with Avatar, but no one can tell me what it's about.
It's just weird.
Yeah.
Among the entertainments staged for the spectators, Augustus arranged for a basin to be dug of the dimensions indicated, which was then flooded with water.
So, that's pretty much us done. Here's what I want us to do, Sunshines.
So could we review the answers for question
Of course.
5 and question 7?
Question 5 and question 7. Question 5. How does Augustus twist the events of how he was made consul after the deaths of Hirtius and Pansa? What does he admit, and by what right does he claim it? First of all, how does he twist?
Oh, so he...
Risha?
He says that he was made consul by the people in the Senate,
Yep.
but he actually ended up bringing his army into
Yeah.
Rome.
Exactly right. Okay. Is there another fact that he twists? Or maybe omits?
He said that he rose the army with his own money, but really it was Caesar's.
Caesar's money that he used to raise that army. Any other facts that he omits?
He also said that he knew that Caesar would adopt him because they were like that close and stuff, but he didn't find out until
Yeah.
Caesar had
So
died.
timing of the adoption. Come on, there's a big one he admitted. What didn't he say?
That he was partners with Mark Antony.
Yeah, and what before that did he admit? Who he was fighting in that battle when Lucius and
yeah.
Pansa died.
Yeah.
Okay, because he's fighting against Mark Antony, and then the other part that he fails to say at the end is that he's friends with Mark Antony afterwards. Because Mark Antony is the other what? Triumvir. Triumvir. Okay? So you can see that he twists and manipulates and omits quite a lot. Okay? Now the other one, and by what right does he claim to have it? The consulship?
By saying that they all voted him.
The people clamoured for him to become consul. They didn't even vote. The people were just out in the streets going, "We want Augustus." That's basically what he said. Okay? But he also admits the fact that he brought an army back to Rome with him. And that they were sort of sitting there in the Senate poking them with swords going, "Come on, vote, but vote correctly." Okay? Number 7. How does Augustus treat the triumvirate in Hooray Gestae? What does he do with the triumvirate?
He doesn't mention them at all. And
Yeah.
He makes it seem like he did everything.
Yes, okay. Firstly, he omits their names, okay? Then he attributes what they did to himself. And he makes them look quite insignificant, okay? Yes, I was part of a triumvirate, but you don't even need to know their names. I bloody did everything. He's basically saying he's the guy during the group assessment that did everything. Okay? I stayed up to 3 o'clock. These guys all went to bed.
Or
Okay?
like my mother when she comes home, she's like, I know everything. Nobody
Yeah,
else knows
exactly right. Yeah, you know, you've been sitting there cooking, doing the dishes, cleaning. Parent comes home. I do everything in this household. Okay,
The story of
Mum,
my
yeah.
life. The story of my life.
It's the story of your life. Alright. Any other questions? Fantastic. Alright, so lovely. Here's what I want us to do. You have a reading, and you don't need to read the first page because the first page is nothing.
So,
That's the wrong one.
so I forgot to remind you about the pill.
You forgot to. That's alright.
Next lesson.
I'll do that. I'll finish off that paragraph next lesson, girls.
Alright.
I'll start off with it.
Ooh, JSTOR.
JSTOR!
Very useful. It was great for your time.
Alright, so girls, with this reading, here's what I want you to do with it, okay? Hold on. Before we come back to class, you've got 3 things. Underline the words you do not know the meaning of. Circle the words that mention Augustus as a positive person or his actions as good. And number 3, highlight sentences or parts that talk about the purpose of the Re Gestae. Okay? Those are the 3 things that you need to do with those readings. Skip the first page, it's irrelevant.
Okay.
Okay? That's it. Other than that, I will see you Wednesday, Thursday, one of those 2, not tomorrow.
One day.
One day. Thank you very much, girls. Okay, so we're out of the sand pit,
Oh.
but we're just about to go back into the sand pit.
Alright.